Today I will be making a different kind of a video. This is about Air India plane crash which happened in the city of Ahmedabad last week. It's been more than 7 days and there is no official word yet, so that's why I decided to make this video. As I was looking around, reading the ground reports, the news articles, watching YouTube videos based on it, and there is a lot of information out there, but there is no official information. Plus, none of the videos really showed what exactly happened. So today I will show you in this video what exactly happened, as I lived in the city of Ahmedabad for more than 20 years, and I also studied in the same campus where the plane crashed. So I am very familiar with the area, and from whatever I've seen and whatever I've read, I will try to make sense of it. I will also tell you the reason or possible reasons why it may have happened. And if you have any questions, you let me know. Once I get official word, I'll try to make another video. I'm usually travel, technology, and gaming channel. I'm following this story very closely and it's very personal to me. Let me show you what exactly happened. Let's get to a basic geography. This is city of Ahmedabad, or this is India right here. And the flight was going to London Gatwick of United Kingdom. There are two major airports in London. One is London Heathrow, and then another is Gatwick. There are a few direct routes. So one of them was Air India flight 171, which was flying from Ahmedabad AMD to London Gatwick Airport. And this is, as you know, this is India. That's Pakistan right here. That's China, and this is Arabian Sea. City of Ahmedabad is located right here. This is Mumbai. New Delhi is right here. And if I zoom in, that's the city of Ahmedabad. It is not a capital. Capital city is Gandhinagar, but it is located very close to a capital. It used to be a former capital of state of Gujarat. And there is a major river passes through here. It's called Sabarmati River. And the airport is right here. Now the flight really took off from here, this area, and this is the runway 26. It took off from here. After reaching somewhere here, it lost the altitude and it crashed exactly in this area right here. Now pilots did a phenomenal job because they had a very less reaction time. The flight only lasted 30 seconds or so. But if I give you the idea of the area where it crashed and how pilots saved a lot of lives, this is a civil hospital, which is the biggest hospital in the state. It has 1,200 bed hospital. The great thing about the plane versus helicopter, if it loses the power, planes can glide up to a certain distance depending on the height. So pilots do really have some sort of control, versus if the helicopter crashes, then it just goes down. In this case, if pilots wouldn't have maneuvered the plane a little bit, it would have crashed here in this residential area, or it would have glided a little more. It might have ended up crashing in this hospital, and that would have caused much more devastation, because not just patients. This area is really crowded because it being the biggest hospital of the city. There are a lot of people in this area. The fact that it crashed in this gap right here, which is sort of empty space, I think the pilot was trying to aim for the empty space as much as possible, but unfortunately it only saved one life. So let's talk about the incident on that day, what happened. So as I showed you before, this is Ahmedabad International Airport. And it has two terminals, one domestic and one international. This is a runway 23. That's where the flight took off from. It was June 12 of 2025 at 1:38 p.m. Flight took off from this runway in this direction, and at 1:38 p.m. it took off and it crashed pretty much instantaneously in 30 seconds or so. The wind conditions were not bad. The weather was really clear that day. The only thing was the temperature was very, very high. It was 41 degrees Celsius. And the flight takes off from this runway, and then around here, about in 15 seconds or so in a flight, as soon as it takes off, it starts losing the altitude. and once it loses altitude, it starts going down. Now the plane versus helicopters, when the plane loses power, it can glide because of the aerodynamics. But the helicopter, it just crashes down. So the flight lost the power and it started gliding. It crashed around right here in this area. Zoomed in the area where the airline crashed. So this is the hostel right here. In Ahmedabad, generally speaking, in hospitals and establishments like that, the cafeteria is usually on the higher floor. In Western world, cafeterias are usually located in the ground floor. Or so in this building right here, this is also hostel. The mess or the lodge or the cafeteria was located on the top floor. These are the Atulyam buildings, Atulyam 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are the residencies for the doctors who are pursuing post-graduation. So who are already doctors. They got their licenses and everything, and they're pursuing further specialization field. This is the building where the doctors who just finished their medicine and they're doing their rotations. There is a road right here which passes through. There is a military hospital right here, and this is National Institution of Occupational Health. There is a road goes through here, and this is where the plane crashed. So on June 12 at 1:38 p.m., the flight lost all power and altitude, and now it's heading down. It passes through rooftop of this building. The tail section gets hit here. Now the nose is still up, and the tail is down. Pilot Sumit Sabharwal and First Officer Clive Kunder, they're trying to bring the flight safely to the ground, but the tail section ends up hitting the part of this hostel right here. That's where students were having their lunch. This was a lunchtime, so a lot of doctors were back in the hostel to have their meal. So some of the doctors, they died right here. The section of wall, the tail got stuck into the roof and the wall, and which raised the wall. So people who were eating right there, they end up dying or get crushed under the plane. Now it got dragged onto this rooftop, the bottom section. Now the flight is going down. Now this flight is extremely heavy. It has, of course, the load of the aircraft itself, but it was fully loaded with fuel, and there were passengers and their luggages and so on and so forth. So this flight was extremely heavy. The flight got dragged onto the roof, and the tail, the back part got crushed into this area right here, which raises the ceiling and the wall. I think there was a kitchen in this area right here underneath, so which ended up killing 2 or 3 people. And then ultimately the flight was in extreme speed, which was around 200 miles or 174 knots, or around 322 kilometers. It was so fast that it just ended up going onto the ground, starting from here. The top part of the tail section ended up crashing in this. It got split in here and it ended up falling down in here with the sheer speed. And then the wings, they got clipped onto this building, and then there is a wall surrounding this campus right here. Usually fuel for these flights is in their wings area, so with the impact it ended up crashing and created a huge fireball, which instantaneously probably killed a lot of people. After that, the fuselage of the plane keeps on going. It ends up around here. The whole area has a debris field of the aircraft. Now, there was one passenger which survived, was sitting in seat 11A. He was extremely lucky, because usually when there is a plane crash, imagine like you're going in a car at 200 miles an hour or 322 kilometers an hour, and then you're jumping off the cliff. So the plane was at 625 feet, which is about 50 stories high. So imagine you going in a car at extreme speed and then you jump off the cliff. So the impact usually instantaneously knocks off all the passengers. If it doesn't kill people with the impact, at least it knocks them all unconscious. And then if they're stuck, unable to move due to the plane crash, because the aircraft is crumpled, seat belts they sometimes hold you flying off the airplane, but at the same time, you may not be able to get out after the crash. During the impact, the fire, which caused a lot of injuries, and there was fuel all over this place. It burned down these two buildings very seriously, and then the fire continued to spread, and before anybody takes control of the fire, it practically consumed all four buildings. And then the passenger was sitting right here. This is supposedly the strongest part of the plane. The fact that he wasn't unconscious, that was the part which made him survive. So he didn't jump off the plane as initial reports suggested, or I was watching this YouTube video which has a lot of views, where they were showing that he jumped off the plane. Nobody survives jumping off anything. You jump off the building, which is 10 or 20 stories high, even though the plane was gliding and then crashing down onto this building. You cannot jump off the plane. It's just not possible. You jump off the plane and then you end up dying. So, or there is a very rare chance of survival, because remember, there is also a fire burning down there. According to his interview, what I listened, and he gave several interviews during this whole week. When the plane crashed, he was the only one who was conscious, and then was lucky enough that when the plane crashed, this is the emergency exit right here. So there was a gap inside the emergency door, and he was able to get up, get out of his seat, which was also, according to him, the seat came off. From this gap, he was able to walk out from here, and then there is a gate right here. I will put a video somewhere in the corner here so you can see it. And he walked off from here, and then he was able to eventually taken to the hospital. So it's not that he jumped or anything like that. And then usually the front part of the plane is not considered safe, because when the plane goes down, the impact is in the front. Tail section is the safest part. So if you are thinking that in the next flight you're going to take 11A, which is coincidentally, there is one more survivor in 80s in I think in Thailand or Indonesia. There was a plane crash, and there was also a survivor from same seat 11A. If you notice, there was a Jeju Air flight, Korean Air, which crashed recently. Also, if you remember, there were two crew survived. They were sitting in a tail section. So generally speaking, in aircraft, tail section is the safest, or the rear part is considered the safest. Most of the incident of airline crashes, they happen during takeoff or landing. If something goes wrong mid-air, the chance of survival is high. Chance of crashing airplane is 1 in 11 million. So the airline is still the safest mode of transportation. So now there is a fireball. Emergency rescue workers started showing up. There is a road goes through right here, and then there is a tea stall right here, and then somebody died. There was a 15-year-old boy who was resting here, also ended up dying. And there were a lot of people who were in this hostel. They were eating, and they ended up dying, and there were some people on the ground. They also ended up dying. A lot of people were injured. They were taken to the hospital. Like I showed you earlier, the hospital is very nearby, and that's the biggest hospital. So that was one fortunate aspect of this tragedy. Now, the possible reason why this may have crashed is they're saying about flaps. Flaps is a part of the wings which extends to create a pressure. There's a high pressure on the lower part of the wing, and then low pressure on the high part of the wing. So initially during the takeoff, the flaps, or the rear part of the wings, extends so that a flight can generate enough lift and starts flying. The engines are also play a really big part. So initial assumption was the flap settings were wrong, but from what I've read and what I've seen, if you have a wrong setting of the flap, so when the takeoff happens, the pilot tells the first officer to raise the landing gear. In this case, the landing gears were not raised, which also suggested there was something really wrong with the aircraft. So when the pilot asks the first officer to raise the landing gear, sometimes they end up making a mistake, and then instead of raising a landing gear, they raise the flaps. But again, from what I've read and from what I've heard, it's nearly impossible for that to happen, because it gives a lot of alarms. Plus, it can be reversed. It's not like once you press the wrong flap button, you cannot change it. Theory was initially because this crash happened so fast in 30 seconds, that mistake would have led to this crash. But then when the clear video of the crash came out, this video you will see right here, when the clear video came out, you could hear something called ram air turbine, which is a little windmill under the aircraft, which launches when there is a catastrophic engine failure, electrical failure, or hydraulic failure. Because of that discovery, it seems that there was nothing other than catastrophic engine failure. The both engines failed at the same time. There could be a fuel contamination, there's a dirt or water or something in the fuel which may have caused both engines to fail. But also pilots and experts saying that that's a very rare possibility in this case. The only factor which could lead to both engine failure is obviously one is maintenance. It wasn't done right. Air India didn't maintain their aircrafts well. They were given a lot of, these are the reports, they were fined some 1 crore rupee because they failed to maintain the engine, sometimes as much as 3 months delay for aircraft maintenance. So I'm not saying in this particular aircraft, but in general, they were fined for lack of maintenance. Now, Tata Group, which recently acquired Air India, they are replacing the fleet, but as you know, Boeing and Airbus, they cannot produce enough planes for the demand they have. In this case, most likely scenario is somehow the engines fail. That's why the ram air turbine was deployed. Ram air turbine, a RAT, they call it, which gives enough power not to lift the landing gear or not to fly the aircraft or anything like that, but it gives enough power to electrical systems on board so the pilots can at least see and maneuver a plane temporarily. But that only works if the plane is on sufficient altitude. In this case, it was only 600 feet, and then it started going down from there. So in this scenario, yeah, it's just not possible to save the plane. There were 242 passengers on board, including 12 crew. I will try to make this video in Hindi also, because I think a lot of audience in India would understand Hindi better. And if I see any update, of course I will try to make another video of this. If you have any questions, or if you want to know any details on this, please let me know, and thank you for watching.